Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I am Gebo the Shaman, and today we're talking about, we're reading from Odin Says Jesus Was a Coward, the Monotheist Subversion of Traditional Religious Thought. That's the subtitle. And so today we're reading from that book, and just reading through it. So here we go. And I try to make these like 30-minute segments and things like that, so that way it's easy to just get through and digest and enjoy. So yeah, let's see here. So I do have a lot of services and products and courses and all kinds of things that I offer to my clients and to you people. So if you're interested in anything that I have to offer, then you can go to my website, gebotheshaman.com. As you can see here, I have Qigong courses, Astrology certification course, astrology readings, rune readings, birth time rectification, career coaching, life coaching, a trauma healing course, and distance energy healing. So anyway, highly recommend checking that stuff out, as well as I have my book here, Tantric Secrets of Vedic Astrology. You can check that out on Amazon. Alright, so let's get into it. So today we are on part 4 of our reading. So essentially last time we left off on we'll pick it up on Jesus' reluctant self-sacrifice. That's not a main chapter, but it is a subheading of, I believe, let me see here. I believe it's a subheading of the chapter Traditional Blood Sacrifice versus Christian Sacrifice. So there's that. Alright, so let's get into it. Jesus' reluctant self-sacrifice. Jehovah devises a plan to redeem his own perfect reputation and simultaneously save mankind from his punishment. God's plan is to volunteer his own son as a sacrifice to himself. Jesus does not volunteer, he is commanded to volunteer. He is commanded to volunteer to be sacrificed by his Father. Let me see here. Oops, sorry guys. Hold on. There we go. Sorry. Alright, let's see here. Alright, the Gospels are clear that Jesus did not want to be crucified. Later he chooses to obey his Father, but the fact that it is not his own idea, and he has serious doubts about sacrificing himself, sort of, in my opinion, invalidates the selfless aspect of it all. Compare Jesus' hesitance to be sacrificed with the complete commitment of other deities in animist mythology to willingly sacrifice themselves for mankind. Prometheus gave humans the gift of fire. He also taught men how to save the best portion of animal sacrifices so they could eat it afterwards. For these gifts to man, Zeus had Prometheus bound to a mountain where his liver was eaten each day by an eagle. But even Prometheus is not punished eternally. He is eventually freed by Hercules. So too was Odin's self-sacrifice on the Tree of Life completely voluntary, without any hesitance whatsoever. Compared with just these two traditional polytheist examples of deities sacrificing themselves for mankind, Jesus' reluctance to be sacrificed looks rather pathetic. Sacrificial flow of energy. The flow of energy in a traditional sacrifice is upward. By this, I mean that spiritual energy contained in the blood is meant to flow upward to the higher power, who then transforms this energy to then enable the descent of spiritual power down to earth, which can be used by men to augment their admitted lack of power. Jehovah's sacrifice of Jesus does not follow this. Jehovah's sacrifice of Jesus does not follow this law of spiritual energy dynamics. The Jesus sacrifice creates a confused, chaotic flow of energy. Jehovah, in essence, steals the life force of his own Son in order to empower himself, to be able to forgive the limitations of his own creations, who must then repay his free gift of salvation with perpetual gratitude and unwavering devotion. Whereas the normal flow of life force energy in traditional sacrifices is from earth to heaven and back down to earth. The flow of the Jesus sacrifice is from heaven to Jesus, to heaven, to earth, to heaven again. Question mark. Let's see. The supposed mechanics of this sacrifice just doesn't follow any logic or common sense, whether that be of a spiritual or practical nature. From the perspective of a shaman, animist, who seeks to find the dynamic balance of energy, this sacrifice of Jesus would create a chaotic flow of life force energy that would result in further imbalance, rather than a healing dynamic balance between men and gods. And indeed, in my own personal experience with Christianity, this is exactly what does happen within the heart of man, within the heart and mind of the Christian worshipper. The origin of the Jesus myth. In my opinion, the Jesus sacrifice does not work simply because, unlike the animist, the Jesus sacrifice does not work simply because, unlike the animist alternative, it is not a myth created to solve a practical human survival problem. The Jesus myth is a product of the minds of Roman imperial politicians seeking a way to artificially impose a blood sacrifice mythology onto a political power play. Alright, next chapter. Historical authenticity of Jesus. This book is not meant to be an exhaustive thesis on the historicity or lack thereof of the biblical Jesus. I leave it to the reader to do their own due diligence on this subject. Besides, I have learned through experience that devout Christians are not interested in the objective evidence of such evidence. I have learned through experience that devout Christians are not interested in objective evidence if such evidence contradicts their beliefs. Having been a zealously devout Christian myself in my youth, I understand this mindset and also accept the futility of any attempt to persuade Christians or to objectively examine any such evidence. Having said that, there is zero, and I mean zero, objective, conclusive evidence of any kind that a man named Jesus of Nazareth ever existed. In fact, even the slightest attempt to objectively prove the existence of Jesus during the years 0 through 33 CE will reveal absolutely nothing. That is not my opinion, that is merely a fact. But the lack of evidence does not disprove his existence. So I submit to you what is to me the most convincing, objective, historical evidence that the biblical Jesus of Nazareth did not ever exist. That evidence is concerned with the supposed town where Jesus is presumed to have grown up, the town of Nazareth. The problem of Nazareth. The evidence that definitively disproves the authenticity of the Gospels is the fact that the town of Nazareth, where Jesus supposedly spent his childhood, did not even exist in any form until at least 100 years after his supposed death and resurrection. Moreover, a town called Nazareth is nowhere to be found in the Hebrew Old Testament, nor in any other historical document until long after Jesus' supposed death. The city of Nazareth was a real city, but not during the supposed life of Jesus. Nazareth was founded sometime after 135 AD by a group of Nazarite Jewish ascetic refugees. The Gospels were written sometime after the founding of Nazareth. The Nazarites were an ascetic Jewish sect closely affiliated with the Messianic movement and rebellion against Rome. Since it was well known during the writing of the Gospels that Jewish ascetics lived in Nazareth, this made this town a poetic setting for the writers of the Gospels to present their fictional hero as having grown up there. The archaeological and historical facts concerning the founding of Nazareth makes the historical authenticity of the Gospels simply impossible. The Gospels are fiction, pure and simple. Jesus is a fictional character. If, as the fundamentalist would have us believe, the Christian Gospels are literal, accurate historical accounts, then the question of Nazareth poses a huge problem for the literal existence of Jesus. The Gospels are absolutely and unmistakably incorrect when they assert that the city of Nazareth existed in 0 to 33 AD. If that one fundamental aspect of the supposed historical account of Jesus is completely wrong, then how can any of it be trusted to be historically accurate? we're not talking about we're not talking about an insignificant detail that we could easily overlook. We're talking about a fundamental pillar of the Jesus story that could not have happened at all. For me, every other very valid and persuasive argument against the literal existence of Jesus, which are beyond counting, are unnecessary. The New Testament Gospels are unmistakably clear. They are written about the life and ministry of a man who lived from 0 to 33 AD, named Jesus of Nazareth, who grew up in the town of Nazareth in Roman-occupied Palestine. The fact that this town did not exist until around the time that the Gospels were first written down, that was 100 plus years after his death, makes it very clear to me that the Christian Gospels are first century fiction, most probably written by Romans, not Jews. I have for some time now strongly suspected, as you probably have, that the Christian Gospels were the invention of the Roman imperial machine in order to use religion to control a very large and unruly empire. Alright, purpose of the Gospels. This is the chapter, Purpose of the Gospels. The original intent of the Gospels seemed to have been to pacify the very troublesome Jewish rebels who followed a revolutionary messianic form of Judaism. The Romans very artfully studied the tenets of the messianic movement and as well as the prophecies concerning the Jewish Messiah recorded in the Torah. The Roman nobility, in an attempt to prevent the loss of precious time and resources militarily quelling a very stubborn religious rebellion, sought to create a fictional pacifist Jewish Messiah who could teach the rebellious Jews to turn the other cheek and to give unto God what is God's and give unto Caesar's what is Caesar's. The verse about giving to Caesar is an important verse because it specifically addresses one of the main flashpoints of the Messianic Jewish rebellion. Jewish rebels were quite voracious. The Jewish rebels were quite vociferous about not paying Roman taxes. To do so was considered blasphemous to Jewish extremists. It is no coincidence, therefore, that Jesus tells his people to pay up. The idea of obeying a Roman government, the Roman government was also a major theme in the New Testament epistles. In the 13th chapter of the Epistle of the Romans, Paul advises, "Let every person be in subjection to the governing authorities, Roman elite, for there is no authority except from God, and those which exist are established by God. Therefore, he who resists Roman authority has opposed the ordinance of God. and they who have opposed will receive condemnation upon themselves. For rulers are not cause of fear for good behavior, but for evil. Wherefore it is necessary to be in subjection, not only because of wrath, but also for conscience sake. For because this you also pay taxes. For rulers are servants of God, devoting themselves to this very thing. Render to all what is due them. Render to all that is due them. Tax to whom tax is due. Custom to whom custom is due. Fear to whom fear is due. Honor to whom honor is due. Owe nothing to anyone except to love one another. The Jews of the day didn't buy into this new version of pacifist Judaism the way the Romans did. The Roman elite had hoped. They did not buy into that the way the Roman elite had hoped for. But coincidentally, Christianity started taking hold with other non-Jewish people within the Roman Empire. Eventually, the Roman general Constantine realized that he could use Christianity to great effect in his bid to become the next Roman Emperor. Blah. Alright. Alright, so let me see how long this chapter is and we'll see. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and leave it there. So we'll come back next time with the let's see here. Constantine, the chapter called Constantine Becomes Roman Emperor Through Christ. Alright, so that was really cool. This is my first time reading this book, so it's always nice to kind of catch up on, because I've heard my teacher, Michael William Denney, basically the author of this book. I've heard him talk on YouTube. He has a YouTube channel called thunderwizard.com. You can check that out. And anyway, I've heard him talk about this book and the things in it, and like how Nazareth wasn't an actual city before, at the time of Jesus' supposed, existence and things like that. So it's very interesting to read all this. So anyway, guys, I appreciate you sticking around and watching this video series with me. And so if you're interested in anything that I have to offer, you can go to, what is it? GeboTheShaman.com. Let me switch my tabs. There we go. GeboTheShaman.com. And so yeah, that's always available. So I do have a bunch of things to offer. I have my Qigong courses, my astrology courses, and by the way, when you purchase an astrology certification course, basically I essentially give you your own free website that can actually take payments. So that's a good way to start your astrology business, is with that website. It'll directly link to your PayPal or Stripe, whatever you want me to do. It has to be PayPal or Stripe, but anyway. So if you're interested in becoming a Vedic astrologer, if that's interesting to you, then check that course out. I offer astrology readings, I offer birth time rectification, I offer rune readings, so if you're interested in anything like that, then I would highly recommend you check that out. Rune readings are basically geared towards telling you about your past, present, future, and it's not only that, it's like all of the 9 areas of life. So essentially it's basically what's going on with you, like with what's coming to you in the future, what's your highest hopes, wishes, and dreams, things like that. It talks about that, and it talks about your identity, like anything that's going on with your identity and your spiritual growth. It talks about your all kinds of things. So it's definitely something to check out if you're interested in. And yeah, so we also offer career coaching, life coaching, all that good stuff, trauma healing courses, qigong courses, and distance energy healing sessions. So if you're interested in those, you can check those out. And yeah, so that's about it for me, and we will talk to you next time. Alright, peace. I was just checking the time. But yeah, we'll talk to you next time with the next part of this series. So, peace.